Hello party people, I have a pregnancy update for you today. Ever since I kind of mentioned I was on bed rest, people have been asking for a pregnancy update, which I totally get. I don't even know where to start. So I guess I'll just start at my 12-week ultrasound, which is where we found a complication, and then I was on bed rest for a few weeks to try to solve the complication, and I went back for a follow-up ultrasound at almost 16 weeks, and it's still there, but I'm no longer on bed rest. I'll explain. It's weird. Okay, so I had my 12-week ultrasound, and then the day after I got a phone call telling me that I had a subchorionic hematoma. And so sometimes these are common in pregnancy when they're really small. Apparently they come in 3 different sizes. They're categorized in 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. Small being 20% or less the size of the amniotic sac. Medium being 30 to 40% the size of the amniotic sac, and large being 50% or larger the size of the amniotic sac. Mine is large, so that is the most rare. Oh, what is a subchorionic hematoma? You may be asking yourself. So it's basically, which is what I was asking myself, I was like, what, is the baby okay? I don't know. So of course I went to Google, which terrified me, so don't do that. But it's basically when you're bleeding between the amniotic sac and your uterine wall. So there's blood, and now it has formed a blood clot. Some women bleed, you know, when they have something like this. I have not bled throughout my entire pregnancy, so that's something they ask me every appointment. Have you been bleeding? No, nothing. So since they found this, I was terrified, because you go on Google and basically find out the worst. I did find a couple like success stories, but not many, especially pertaining to larger subchorionic hematomas. So it took me a while to even be able to talk about what was going on without me crying, because I thought the worst was going to happen. And I was kind of convinced. My doctor, I had an appointment with my doctor. I was given an RH shot, and I was discussing what this complication meant with my doctor. And she basically told me, stay on bed rest to try to prevent a miscarriage, and that a couple things could happen. You know, the blood clot could heal. The blood could absorb into my body, and I would go on to have a normal, healthy pregnancy, and it would be just fine, which is what happens to a lot of women who have this issue, especially if they're smaller. The blood absorbs and they go on to have a healthy pregnancy, no issue. So that was the hope, that I would be on bed rest to allow my body to heal this blood clot, and then it would be okay. Other scenarios include the blood clot getting larger, which could compromise my placenta and maybe detach my placenta, and of course that would result in a miscarriage. Okay, so basically my doctor was not very hopeful. At that time I was 12 weeks, and she just, I think she's just more of a realist, and she was just explaining it to me just how it is, just doctor-like. And so I left that appointment and I was terrified. I cried in my car. I thought I'm gonna lose the baby. So it was rough. Then I was on bed rest for a few weeks until my next ultrasound appointment, which was like, I was almost 16 weeks, and they had checked on the issue, which was the most uncomfortable ultrasound I've ever had in my entire life. Just the tension in the air, because the ultrasound techs, if you have a complication, they're not allowed to discuss it with you, good or bad. At least in my OB's office, that's just how they roll. I don't know. So I go in for my ultrasound, and she starts doing her thing, and it's very quiet. And I'm thinking, oh, can't be good, right? She's searching and searching and searching with that little wand with zipped lips. And then she asks if I can drink some more water to fill my bladder. So I down some water, and we have some small talk while, you know, we're discussing things. And then as soon as I lie back down and she gets her wand out, it's quiet again. So of course my mind is going to the worst possible situations. Oh, and while I was sipping my water, I asked the ultrasound tech, you know, hey, at my 20-week ultrasound, am I going to have to come in with a full bladder? And she says, well, let's just get through this ultrasound first. It took everything I had in me not to fall apart at that moment. I thought, okay. I lie back down and she's searching, trying to get a good picture of this thing. And I mean, it's a while. It's not like a 1 minute, it's like a 10, 15 minute thing. So she finally puts her little wand down and says, let me go get the doctor, which I had not anticipated seeing a doctor. I thought, this is my ultrasound. I will find out the results when they call me tomorrow. So when she says, let me get a doctor, I thought, yep, that's worst case scenario. What else can she be bringing a doctor in for, you know? So I'm sitting there alone in this dark room with my own thoughts, nothing else, waiting for this doctor for what seemed like an hour, but it was really probably 2 minutes. And it took everything I had in me not to fall apart. And I just kept repeating, the baby's okay, because the baby was okay. They could tell me that. The baby was growing. I'm okay. I was okay. And it's gonna be okay. So I just kept chanting that over and over again until the doctor came in the room. So the doctor comes in the room, and it's one that I haven't met before. So, you know, we exchange pleasantries. Hi, my name is Dr. So-and-so. How are you? I said, hi, I don't know how I am. You tell me. So we got right into it, and he started discussing the subchorionic hemorrhage. He said it hadn't changed in size. It was still the same size, and apparently he thought this was good news. So in my mind, I was so much relief rushed over my body. He said, it's not optimal. Obviously, we would like for it to not be there, and there are still complications that could arise. You know, I'm only 16 weeks right now, so things can still happen. But he was very hopeful, which I think is what I needed, because the first doctor had not been so hopeful with everything. And he discussed a lot of things with me, you know, complications, possible miscarriage. And then he said, some women go on to have a healthy pregnancy and go full term. What could happen is that later in the pregnancy, it could compromise my placenta. I could maybe have a low birth weight baby. I could maybe have a preemie. But he said some women carry to term with no issues. So it's all just up in the air. And that was the hardest thing for me when I found out at 12 weeks was the uncertainty of everything. So I asked him if I should continue to stay on bed rest. And he said, you should rest and take it easy, but don't go crazy. You don't need to be on bed rest, because who knows if that's gonna help. You've been on bed rest for this long and the problem hasn't resolved. So it's still there. Just live your life. You have kids, you have jobs, do what you can, you know, but don't restrain yourself to a bed, which was good news to hear. And then he also started talking to me about lifestyle and how I told him how I'm very active, gym and all that stuff. And he even cleared me to work out, which personally I'm not comfortable doing right now. One, because I'm still kind of nauseous and, you know, I get lightheaded and dizzy and all that stuff. But two, and obviously he wasn't like, yes, go ahead and run 15, 17 miles. He was like, if you do choose to work out, take it easy. Obviously, if you find any cramping or bleeding, you know, tell us and all that stuff. But he was just so hopeful into even saying that I could do that. It made me hopeful. And now I can actually talk about the complication that I have without getting choked up or thinking the worst in my mind. So that's nice. Sometimes that's all you need is just some optimism, you know? So that's all that. That's my complication. My camera keeps cutting out, so I apologize for that. But I thought about a funny exchange that the doctor and I had during the ultrasound, and he asked, because we were talking about possible low birth weight of the baby, and he was concerned a little bit, And oh, and I have some concerns about my placenta, which maybe we'll get into later. But we're hoping that I have a low placenta, but we're hoping as my uterus grows that the placenta will kind of move up with my uterus. So not a concern yet, but something to keep an eye on, which is also what we have to do with the blood clot. Keep an eye on it throughout the pregnancy. Anyway, the conversation we had, he asked my lowest birth weight baby and my highest birth weight baby. And I said, well, my highest was 9 pounds, 10 ounces. Lowest was 8 pounds, 14 ounces. He said, what? Out of you? And you had them all naturally? I said, yeah, no pain medicine or anything. And he said, oh my God. I said, it wasn't that bad. And he said, I've seen a lot of women in labor. I know what it's like. I was like, no, I mean, I've been so lucky to have just really wonderful birth experiences. And that's been another thing that's been weighing on my mind with this pregnancy, is that I have been so lucky to have a wonderful births and wonderful pregnancies with no real complications. And so I keep thinking in my mind, like, when is my luck gonna run out? When, you know, I just have that worry, like something's bound to happen, you know? But I am very hopeful on that note that everything will be okay. And that's really all I can hang on to, and that's all I can hope for, because I can't allow myself to go to the other place. And I want to thank you guys so much for comforting me and sending me sweet messages and comments and your love and prayers. And I can't tell you how much that has helped me get through all of this. And I checked my P.O. box the other day when I was on bed rest, and I got mail from you guys, like baby gifts, and it was such, oh my gosh, hormones. It was such a kind notion to get something in the mail for the baby and for me, and just your kind words. Even if you just send me a letter, and I've written thank you notes, but I'm so bad at getting them in the mail. But when I got the mail, I was like bawling, because I thought, at that point, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miscarry. And so I haven't bought anything for the baby, and I was just really nervous. And opening the mail that you guys had sent for the baby, I thought, oh my gosh, like, this baby is so loved by you guys already. And I was just so thankful. So, oh my gosh. I really do appreciate all of the just kind words that you guys are sending my way, all the positive vibes. I feel them, and I feel the energy, okay? It has shifted from that. I'm not in that like headspace anymore, and it's much more positive now. And I'm not as sick as I was. I was so sick for so long. I'm 16 weeks now, 16 and a half weeks, and I'm finally starting to feel like I can cook any meal, you know what I mean? I'm not confined to the couch or the bed. I don't feel like I'm gonna throw up every second of the day. I'm nauseous, don't get me wrong, but I can function, you know? So anyway, things are looking up, short story long, and I just really appreciate you guys. So I'm gonna end it here, and hopefully my next video will be something real cool. Maybe we can go shopping again. But I love you guys, and thanks for hanging out and chit-chatting with me. I really enjoy your company. I'll see you next time. Bye.